and welcome to this week's special edition of World of Business. In a bid to promote bilateral relations between Zimbabwe and Israel, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, appointed Ambassador Ronny Levi Musan as Zimbabwe's Consul General in Israel. He has done a lot when it comes to bringing investors into the country. So to shed more light on this issue, I'm joined by Ambassador Ronny Levi Musan, who is going to tell us more about the fruits that we have seen so far in as far as this bilateral relation is concerned. Ambassador Musan, it's our pleasure to have you today on our show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled to be here with you today, and I'm excited, and I'm very happy to be here with you.
All right,
so we can bring some information to the viewers.
Okay, Ambassador Musan, as we start off the conversation, who is Ambassador Ronny Levi Musan?
I'm Jewish. I raised and born in Jerusalem. I'm 52 years old. I have 2 children in Israel. I worked in many years, I'm talking about 25 years, with international organizations, international churches, about the relation between Israel and other countries. I've been involved with many countries in Africa. I met different presidents. My relation with Zimbabwe started with the churches, actually, when I met Baba Guti. He invited me to come, and we built relations. He was very deep involved with Israel, actually, Baba Guti, may he rest in peace. We were very close friends, and that's what brought me here. And I met President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and he saw my activities, and then he decided to appoint me to represent him in Zimbabwe, because we need to understand that today Israel don't have embassy in Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe doesn't have embassy in Israel. The embassy of Zimbabwe is actually located in Egypt. So I'm the only diplomat that represents Zimbabwe in Israel, and I'm trying my best and all my might to do it in the right way, and I'm very honored to do that. And time will tell if we are going to succeed or not, but so far things go very well.
So you work a lot in Israel when it comes to promoting the bilateral relations that have existed between the two countries. Can you tell us about your role and the work that you've done so far, and the sentiments of the people of Israel when it comes to Zimbabwe?
When I met President Herzog, the president of Israel, and I spoke with him about President Emmerson Mnangagwa, I connected them together to speak with each other so we can see how Israel can help to remove the sanctions, and thanks be to God, the sanctions have been removed lately. I'm not sure about if it's Israel, but I know that Israel was involved with that. And I brought delegation from the President's House of Israel to meet the President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and we started to deal with different envoys and delegations, how we can bring investment, and to bring money from Israel to the different businesses in Zimbabwe. So far, I can say that I succeeded to bring big money to Zimbabwe, and we are going to talk about it, about my experience. I believe that many investors in Israel are keen to come and invest money in Zimbabwe, because the people of Zimbabwe are good people. The majority of the people of Zimbabwe are very faithful people with strong spirit, and I believe in them. And when I believe in them, it's easy for me to come and recruit big guys with big money to bring them here. And the President Emmerson Mnangagwa already met few of them. I introduced him directly to him, introduced them to him, and I believe that good days are coming to Zimbabwe.
Definitely. So talking about your role when it comes to representing Zimbabwe, when you were appointed Consul General in 2020 by His Excellency Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, you had 2 short-term targets. You were praying for peace, and you wanted to bring investors into the country. Would you say that these objectives have been achieved to date?
Of course, because of the majority of the people of Zimbabwe are Christians, and all of them are very well connected to the holy sites of Christendom in the Holy Land. I initiated a very nice project in the website of our consulate, which is called zimisrael.com, where everyone can get and register his name to be written and mentioned in the prayers in Israel. Okay, so everyone can do that. He can go to the website and register, and so this is one thing. We made some programs about Israel and about the holy sites on television, on your television actually before holidays, etc. And we will continue to do that, because I want people to be connected from far, because we need to understand that the majority cannot afford to come to Israel. So what they are going to do? They want to be connected. They want to draw spirit to their life from these holy sites. So that's what I'm doing. Regarding the business aspect, when it's come to investors, again, I brought them, I'm going to bring them. Every time I come to Zimbabwe, every visit of mine in Zimbabwe, I'm coming with something. I never come to spend time. I'm very focused on my trips. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I invite people to connect us and tell us what they have, what business they have in mind, what plans they have. And then we can consider to be partner with them.
So earlier on you mentioned the need for us as Zimbabweans to make sure that our environment is conducive enough for our potential investors. What would you think are the general sentiments of our investors in Israel when it comes to Zimbabwe?
When President Emerson Mnangagwa said that Zimbabwe is open to business, I consider that as a national call for every Zimbabwean. This is something that every viewer that is watching us right now need to understand. Because the president represents the country. And if the president says something, all the people need to understand that and take responsibility on that. Why? Because he said that Zimbabwe is open to business. We, the diplomats, serving the president, and go abroad and bring investors. And what happened? Sometimes people from Zimbabwe take advantage of our work, take advantage of our relationship with the investor and deceived the investors. And then what happened? The investors are not coming back. They don't want to continue to invest. And then we need to go and start from the beginning to convince that Zimbabwe is open for business, but above all, it's safe for business. When the President Emerson Mnangagwa said all over the world that Zimbabwe is open for business, I consider that call as a national call and the responsibility of every Zimbabwean who respect the president to protect the investors. Because investors can come and Zimbabwe can be open for business, but if the people are not going to protect the investors, they will run back and Zimbabwe will be closed to business.
Mm-hmm. And like you rightfully mentioned, our president, Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, is on record for saying Zimbabwe is open for business. Now, what areas would you say are open for Israeli investors in Zimbabwe?
Israeli investors are very keen in mining, in agricultures, in medicines, etc. Because we can, Israel is one of the leading countries in the world when it comes to technology. Okay, technology in many, many areas. Technology in hospitals, in agricultures, mining, military intelligence, IT.
Ambassador, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to delve deeper into this discussion. Zimbabwe is indeed open for business, like what Ambassador Ronny Levi Musan has rightfully pointed out. But for now, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we're going to delve deeper into this discussion. Welcome back to the second segment of this special edition of World of Business, where we are joined by Zimbabwe's Consul General in Israel, Ambassador Ronny Levi Musan. Before we went for the break, he made it clear that it's important for us as Zimbabweans to make it safe and conducive for investors to invest in our country. So, Ambassador, in one of your interviews, you rightfully mentioned that it's important for Zimbabwe to regain its breadbasket status. What would you think when it comes to our agricultural sector and what we can do to improve it in as far as achieving the breadbasket status is concerned?
This is also a very important question. I met many farmers in Zimbabwe. I saw the tobacco industry, the wheat industry, corn, etc., the maize. What I miss till now is business plan. When I go to raise money, it's easy for me to raise money. You need to understand that. Money is there. Land you have here, you have good people here, good faith, strong spirit. What we need to bring? Money. right? Foreign currency we need to bring to Zimbabwe. In order to bring foreign currency to Zimbabwe, we need to convince the banks, we need to convince the investors, the private investors. Some private investors, just to give you an idea, they can invest $100 million one person, okay, or 200 million. These are big guys in Israel. But in order to convince them how to do that, we need to come with a plan. Okay, what do we have? How much we can produce? Where are the markets? Okay, because I know that many people want to move on with businesses, but they don't have the ABC of business. They don't know how to approach investors. Let me give you an example with when it comes to mining section. Okay, I got a lot of requests from good people who has a mining license to mine. The question is, you got the license, okay, you pay, you spend 1 year, you run to the Ministry of Mines, etc. Do you have the money to mine? How you are going to get the gold out of the soil? How you are going to bring the tractor, the diesel, or it's a lot of money. Did you think how we are going to bring the money to that? Most of the people are doing the first step, and on the second step they stuck because they don't have the money. I would like to do it the opposite. First, let's understand the business, let's understand the stages, and then it's going to be easy to bring the money in. And then we go to the first question, but once we bring the money in, you need to be responsible for the money and prove yourself that you supply and deliver what you promised in the business plan that you gave us from first hand. Otherwise, we're losing money, you are going to lose your business, and it's going to affect the good name of Zimbabwe. And for me, I must to protect the good name of Zimbabwe. I must to protect the good name of the president because of my role. I cannot accept any failure with business, because if we fail in business, if we lose money in this country, it's going to affect the president, it's going to affect the good name of Zimbabwe, and I cannot be part of that.
So talking about Zimbabwe learning from the technological advancements in Israel, what do you think when it comes to sending delegations to learn from Israel, and what we could do with that in business?
Of course, I know that many pilgrims coming to Israel, but I suggest them to also to take few days of the pilgrims tour, to dedicate these few days to study the technologies of Israel. Let's say we can take them to farms, we can take them to high-tech, we can take them to different areas, we can take them to hospitals, for instance. Okay, it's because Israel is one of the leading countries in the world when it comes to agriculture, high-tech, and hospitals, because the hospitals of Israel using the technology of Israel. Okay, so we have a lot to take from Israel and to bring it to Zimbabwe. And I strongly recommend every business person in Zimbabwe to be in contact with us so we can arrange for them business tour in Israel to introduce them to business people, to business entities, etc., and they can take it from there.
Still talking about developing our agricultural sector, in view of the climate change related droughts that have affected so many countries in Africa, what do you think that Zimbabwe could use when it comes to Israel's technology in their agricultural sector?
The technology of Israel when it comes to agriculture, they have a lot of solutions. I know they worked very big in the UAE, for instance, okay, which is desert, and they have solutions. I know they have solutions. Many contacted us. They wanted to connect people. Some of them even came to Zimbabwe. One of the leading agriculture people came to Zimbabwe. I don't know where it's what the status right now, but definitely we can promote it. Definitely.
Okay. So lastly, before we take a break, Ambassador, is your role, looking at your role as the Consul General of Zimbabwe in Israel, what have you done when it comes to attracting investors to come and invest in our agricultural sector in Zimbabwe, or what does the future hold?
Above all, I convinced the investors that Zimbabwe is a safe place, the people are good people, and the president is above all, which means we trust the president. And if we trust the president, the investors feeling much better. Okay? So I convinced them to come. They came with me. Many delegations of investors already came with me. Okay? So we will continue to bring them till we find the right project and the right platform how to make it big.
Mm-hmm. So for now, we take a short break, but when we return, we're going to conclude the discussion. Stay with us. Welcome to the last segment of this week's special edition of World of Business. And before we took a break, Ambassador Ronny Levi Musan made it clear that it's important for the agricultural sector of Zimbabwe to borrow a thing or two when it comes to the technological advancements that are available in Israel. Ambassador, thank you again for joining us. As we continue with the discussion, when you assumed position in 2020, you actually showed interest in developing the mining sector, and you brought in investors that were keen on particularly establishing a cutting and polishing plant for our diamonds in Zimbabwe. What progress has been made when it comes to that so far?
So for what we have done, by the way, everyone who wants to see the factory, it's on the Livingstone building in Zimbabwe, in Harare. We took local partners, we connect them to professional team in Israel, in the diamond bourse of Israel. The Israeli team came to Zimbabwe, they bring the machine, they start to train the local guys, okay? The issue now is about, let's say it's 80% finished, and this is about the diamond section, okay? But if we go to the gold mining section, I brought big investors to Zimbabwe to invest in gold mines, but so far, as you can read in the newspaper, they've been deceived for $3 million cash, which is big. Now we need to see where it's going to go. I have a lot of plans for small-scale miners. I'm really interested in that because if we think about the gold production in Zimbabwe, gold production can bring a lot of foreign currency to Zimbabwe, okay? Because gold is gold, it's even better than diamonds. But we need to develop that section, that sector. We need to support the small-scale miners with machines, with technology, so they can produce more. That I'm very keen to do that, and I'm in touch with the government entities who are doing that, and I believe that in 1 year we are going to see results on that one.
Definitely. Now, Ambassador Musan, we have seen the issues of sanctions making the headlines in the mainstream media, and now we have got the US that has revised the sanctions. That is now a specific list of individuals, with our very own Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa being part of the list. What do you think when it comes to these illegal sanctions that have been imposed on our nation, and when it comes to developing our nation while faced with these sanctions?
I was working with President Herzog, President of the State of Israel, about the sanctions issue. I even connect them both presidents to talk about it and to see how they can help each other. But at the end of the day, this is something that not depends on Israel. Mm-hmm. Israel has their role, but it's not dependent on them at the end. This is a decision of United States. So we have nothing to do about it anymore. But I rather to concentrate on the good thing that I can do in Zimbabwe, to invest in the progress, to build the economy, to bring investors, because if we are going to show the world that the economy is growing and the system of Zimbabwe, when it's come to education, health system, human rights system is growing up and it's getting better, it's going to do the work itself, which means they are going to remove the sanctions by itself.
So lastly, Ambassador Musan, you have been very vocal and very articulate and remain consistent when it comes to how much you admire the attitude of the people of Zimbabwe when it comes to how they deal with the foreigners and even investors. Now, looking at the Zimbabweans, what would you like to say to them when it comes to any words of inspiration or advice?
People want to invest in Zimbabwe, especially the Israelis. I'm not saying that because it's my work. People in Israel want to invest in Zimbabwe. Every business person in Zimbabwe who has plans, who wants investment, who needs money to his business, need to understand one important thing. We follow the instructions of the president. The president called us to bring investors. The president said that Zimbabwe is open for business. If Zimbabwe is open for business, we all need to make sure that it's going to stay open. We want investors to come in, and that's why we need to protect investors. We need to work with them hand in hand, not to use them, not to abuse them, not to deceive them. And I can promise you, everyone who's watching us right now, if we are going to work together in the right way with respecting each other, respecting the time of each other, respecting the money of each other, the effort of each other, there is no reason in the world that we are not going to succeed.
That's the conversation we're having today with Ambassador Ronny Levi Musan, Zimbabwe's Consul General to Israel, and evidently the engagement and re-engagement mantra spearheaded by the Second Republic continues to bear fruits in so many nations, and Israel is just but one of them. We can best believe as a nation that our interests are well represented as we continue to expect more results from this bilateral relation. That brings an end to this week's special edition of World of Business. Be sure to join us again on our next edition. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.